Rational expressions and equations, part 3. Now for rational equations, what you want to do is try to get rid of your fractions before you do anything else. For example, do you remember when we had something like 1/4 x plus 2/3 equals 1/6 x? And we would try to solve this equation, so we would take every term and multiply it by the least common denominator. Well, if you multiply 12 times 1/4 x, 4 will go into 12 3 times, so you have 3x. Then you multiply 12 times 2/3. Well, 3 will go into 12 4 times, and 4 times 2 is 8. Then you would multiply 12 times 1/6 x, and 6 will go into 12 2 times, so you'd have 2x. And from there you can solve it like normal. So x is equal to -8. Well, the whole point to this example was to remind you about multiplying by the least common denominator. That's what we want to do in a rational equation. Make sure you only do that to problems that have an equal sign in them. If they don't have an equal sign, then it's an expression. And you need to refer to videos 1 and 2 for this section if you want to do that. Okay, let's go ahead and factor everything just to see if anything can reduce. I don't know if it will or not, so we just need to test it. So in the numerator, we can factor out an x squared, and we'll be left with x plus 4. In the denominator, we can factor this one because we need factors of 24 that add up to a -2. It'll be a 4 and a 6, where the 6 is negative and the 4 is positive. This side, it looks like it's already completely factored. Okay, I did that because now we can reduce these x plus 4's, right? So we end up with x squared over x minus 6 equals 5x plus 6 over x minus 6. Well, you could do a common sense step on this next part that we do. However, if you don't think about that, find your least common denominator. Well, that's going to be one of each of your denominators. It just so happens that both of those denominators are already the same thing. So you can just multiply everything by that common denominator. Well, when you multiply the first one, those go away, so you're left with x squared. When you multiply the second one, those go away again, so you're left with 5x plus 6. Now this is a quadratic equation. You need to set it equal to 0. So subtract 5x, subtract 6. Now factor it to solve it. You need factors of -6 that add up to a -5. That'll be a 1 and a 6 where the 6 is negative. Whenever you set each one of those equal to 0 and solve, you get x equals -1 and 6. Now don't forget to go back and check your answers. Go back to where we had the factored form, this step right here. If you plug a -1 in here, those sides will be equal to each other. However, what if you plug in a positive 6? I guess what I really want you to see is right here. If you have 6 minus 6, then you have 0 in the denominator. And you're not allowed to have 0 in the denominator. So this particular answer is not one of the solutions. So x equals -1 is the only solution to this rational equation. So let's try one more like this. This time we have a constant. So our least common denominator is just going to be that 6x minus 3. So what I want to do is multiply everything by 6x minus 3. So when I multiply this by that first term, the 6x minus 3's go away. So I'm just left with 2x squared. Then I have to multiply it by this -1. I'm going to go ahead and write that out so you can see what's going on. Then we have to multiply it by 0. Okay? Now you can see why I wrote this out, because we need to distribute this negative. Okay? So now what we need to do, since our leading coefficient is 2, we need to do the AC method. 2 times 3 is 6. We need factors of 6. And that could be negative also, right? We need factors of 6 that add up to a negative 6. None of these do that, right? Well, since that's the case, we need to do the quadratic formula. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. And 36 minus 24 is 12. If you simplify the square root of 12, that's 4 times 3. So 2 square roots of 3. Now you can notice between the 6, the 2, and the 4, they all have a 2 in common. So I think I'll factor a 2 out of the numerator. That'll leave me with 3 plus or minus the square root of 3 all over 4. 2 will go into 4 2 times. So my solutions are 3 plus or minus the square root of 3 all over 2. Of course, we need to go back and check the answer to make sure it works. So don't forget to do that.